delegates, friends, people that I've really come to know and cherish over the years that I've represented the 64th District, I proudly accept your nomination to represent the 64th District. It's hard to believe that I have represented this office for 8 years now. A lot has happened, big and small, good and bad. I first ran in 2018 in response to what I saw as an untrustworthy federal government that I wanted Connecticut to stand up to. Here we are again. So untrustworthy really doesn't encapsulate where we are today, or the extent of the cruelty, destruction, and corruption that we see coming from Washington. But I'm also not a freshman anymore. So I'm in a position to ensure that Connecticut stands up for its values. Over the last 8 years, Connecticut has been a beacon of standing up for those responsibilities, both long and short-term, fiscal and moral. In 4 of those last 8 years, I have, as others have mentioned, I have been the House Chair of the Finance, Revenue, and Bonding Committee. And that puts me among the leadership in the legislature and puts me in the room for negotiating the budget, which is the ultimate document that reflects our responsibilities to the citizens of Connecticut. In each of the 2 terms where I've chaired the committee, we have passed responsible budgets with bipartisan support. And I just want to pause on that for a moment. We passed budgets with bipartisan support, 2 of them.
How?
Those budgets contained the largest personal income tax cut in state history, the largest single investment in early childhood in state history, and a tax cut for working families with children. In the last year of when we adjusted the budget, the second year of the budget, we added a second historic level of support for early childhood education, significantly increased the education more broadly for K through 12 systems. We supported hospitals who are beginning to struggle mightily as a result of federal health care cuts, which are pushing costs onto them, and provided significant support to municipalities, including all 9 towns of the 64th District, to help ease pressure on property taxes. Those budgets, each one of them has adhered to our fiscal guardrails, which have provided a number of benefits, one of which is that we have been able to support and maintain a healthy rainy day fund. It's one of the best in the country, one of the strongest in the country, and it means that we have support in the event of a fiscal downturn, which is a little more likely given current federal leadership. It's also enabled us to create a federal response fund, setting aside $500 million to address with immediacy the most drastic of the federal cuts. And in the last 4 years alone, enabled us to put aside over $4.5 billion toward our pension liabilities, in addition to our annual payments. And that means that enables us to reduce our fixed costs and to create room for the significant investments, some of which we've discussed. So Connecticut gets stuff done. In addition to budgetary matters, this year we passed, finally, universal access to absentee ballots. That particular piece of legislation also will protect voters from federal intimidation, and in a special nod to the Northwest corner, because this was an idea generated here, reforms the system in a way that small mistakes get corrected immediately, have time to correct rather than provide opportunities for manipulation. That was pretty important. We have protected workers by enhancing wage transparency and providing protections for teachers and nurses who are attacked on the job. We have provided, protected access to life-saving vaccines. We have reacted to immigration enforcement abuses from the federal government by creating protected spaces such as hospitals and places of worship and schools where ICE cannot make arrests without a warrant. We have also limited federal agents' ability to wear masks and provided a right of action against federal agents for violations of constitutional rights. On a more local level, we have, as I've been discussing tonight already, created a regional public transfer facility, which I hope will enable us to manage solid waste in a long-term responsible way and ensure that there will be competition in that market for many years to come. And we've supported farms with an investment tax credit And as Mary, I think, mentioned, just put an additional $22 million made available for our dairy farms, which are really struggling mighty, in particular because of costs coming out of the war, with which caused fertilizer and fuel costs to spike. So Connecticut has a strong record of standing up. But here's the rough part. It's going to get harder. And I don't, as I said, I believe in Connecticut and what it has been, how it has been able to respond to these, and I'm very grateful that I work in Connecticut government. But we do face a federal government that has been willing to weaponize hunger, weaponize healthcare, has used its vast resources to prosecute its enemies and create a slush fund to reward violent insurrectionists. It's waging a costly war without congressional authorization, which has caused prices to spike. It has destroyed our alliances. It has sold pardons to wealthy donors, and just this week, basically pardoned the president and his family. We're logging forests, mining the boundary waters, cutting off supply to alternative energy sources like Revolution Wind. They're disappearing data that we rely on to make informed policy decisions, and we've had to create our own sort of shadow databases in order to do that, to replace that, and basically engaged in staggering levels of corruption, all while lying at unprecedented rates that have caused the federal government to lose its presumption of regularity. And that's sounds a little bit more boring than some of the other things that I'm talking about, but I just want to emphasize that because that basically means that our citizens, our allies abroad, our institutions can no longer assume that the federal government is acting in the public's interest. That's profound. So we have a lot of work to do, but I know in particular that the people in this room and those who have worked on my campaign in the past know that and are ready to do what's necessary to protect our country and the people of Connecticut. Our campaign's gonna need you to knock on doors, make phone calls, write letters to the editor, stick at that lawn sign in front of your house that lets your neighbors know who and what you stand for. You have always been there for me and shown up where it was necessary, and I've worked hard to represent you for the last 8 years as well. So I hope we can all join together, not only to elect me, but to elect the entire Democratic ticket in the northwest corner, and I hope that I will be able to continue to represent you in the legislature, and I thank you again for nominating me.